Awesome. Hello, everyone. I can see you all coming in. Karibuni sana to our webinar. Welcome all. Good afternoon to you all. Please let's take another minute to just have our audience correct, but please feel free to text us on chat and tell us where you're joining from. You could quickly introduce yourself, say, hi, I'm Angela from ICX. Let's know each other on chat. Let's keep introducing ourselves as we have more members joining us. Karibuni sana to this webinar. Welcome all. Welcome all. Awesome. I see our numbers are adding up. That looks really great. It looks fantastic. It's such a nice afternoon. The sun is out where I'm at, yeah, and I am in Upper Hill. So I don't know for all the rest of the Kenyans who are in this room, I don't know how the weather is looking like on your end, but here the sun did not come out to play. It's bringing all the greatness, all the goodness, and there is so much light and positivity in this day as well. And so let us know. Please let us introduce ourselves. Let us introduce ourselves on chat, and as we have more members joining us. Emmy, as our members are coming in, maybe we could play some bit of jazz music. So just loosen up. It's a Friday, guys. It's a Friday. It is a Friday. Nice. I can see the chats coming in. I can see Moses say he's here from Molas Dental. Moses, Philip Makoha from Molas Dental. We really love to see you present in this room. Thank you so much for joining. Moses Odwor from Super Love, our good friend right there. Thank you so much for finding time and joining us. Hello, everyone from Dennis, our speaker of the day. And as you all can see, he has a very interesting background, guys, a very interesting background for his video. All the football lovers in this room, I am so sure you are finding it really amusing, and it's bringing so much excitement as well. And we can also see this from our other speaker, Greg, whom I will later introduce. I mean, these our speakers are football lovers. Clearly, we can tell that. They are football lovers. And the heart from Greg, I mean, it's just bringing great Friday vibes. And so we are truly excited that you found time to be with us here today. Thank you all for making time. Grace, I can see you. Karibu sana, Grace. Greg, our speaker again says he's from Zurich. So thank you so much, Greg. We have Eunice Wamuyo from CFAO Mobility. Thank you so much, Eunice, for finding time. Grace from Ruby's, Asante Sana. Thank you all so much. For all the guys who are joining us, please let's keep introducing ourselves. Let's say where we are from, and as we have more members coming in. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm seeing we are 6 minutes into our session, and so if you'll allow me, we can now start it off. Allow me to first say good afternoon to you all, and a very warm welcome to our first webinar of the year, where we will be exploring our annual theme, Experience Management, Powering the Next Frontier of Service Excellence. My name is Angela Amach, part of the ICX Secretariat team, and I am so glad to be your moderator for this session today. Thank you all for joining us as we explore this important topic. And wherever you're joining us from, I'm seeing we have people from different parts of the world, including our speakers. We are very glad that you made time to be here with us today. And so what you can expect from us today is this will be a highly interactive session. We'll be hearing from two exceptional global CX voices, and then a Q&A session will follow. And so please feel free to engage with us via the chat, throw in your questions, throw in your comments, and we shall address them. At ICX, we believe that service excellence today goes beyond touch points, and it's about how experiences are designed, how they are measured, how they are governed, and continuously improved across the entire organization. And so today's conversation is about understanding what then this really demands from us as CX leaders and as CX practitioners. And to help us unpack this, we have been joined by two speakers, Mr. Gregorio Uglioni. I hope I am getting this name pronunciation correct. And if I'm butchering the names, please forgive me, but I hope I'm getting them correct. And thank you so much. And with him, we also have Mr. Dennis Wakabayashi. Kindly allow me to also introduce them to you. Our first speaker, Greg, he is widely known for his work in helping organizations turn CX strategy into practical, measurable action. And what makes his perspective especially valuable is that he bridges the gap between CX theory, bringing it into reality. And an interesting fact about Greg is that he's deeply focused on simplifying CX for execution, challenging the idea that experience management has to be complex for it to be effective. That is not true, and that is what Greg is here to tell us today. And so, Greg, we're excited to hear your insights, and we'll be inviting you shortly to take over. Allow me to also introduce Mr. Dennis Wakabayashi. He is often described as the global voice of customer experience. Over the years, he has worked with organizations serving hundreds of millions of customers across multiple continents. Hundreds of million people, hundreds of million. Yeah, that is quite a number over there. And what sets Dennis apart is his deep focus on trust, how it forms between humans. He has worked with organizations, how it forms between humans, systems, and organizations, and how then this data can be used to strengthen that trust at scale. And so, Dennis, we are truly honored to have you here with us today, and welcome. In Kenya, we say karibuni sana, that means welcome. And so, karibuni, and over to you, Greg and Dennis. Members, let's usher in our guests. We can clap or just send in some reactions to show that we are with them, and we are such a live audience. ICX are live people, and we bring in the energy as well. And so over to you, Greg and Dennis. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure, and it's also an honor for us to present in front of such an active audience in a wonderful country. Angela asked to excuse herself for the pronunciation. I am going to pronounce one word. Please excuse me also for my pronunciation. Abariza Ashabui. I hope that you can understand that. Thank you. I hope it's welcome.
We got it right. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank
yes.
You. Angela also doesn't know really what it's going to happen, because I have a big problem. I like to do keynotes. I like to speak, but I don't like PowerPoint. And I am a consultant. And if I would get $1 for each slides that I depicted, created, and discussed, I would be rich. But that's not the reality. And as you know, I am a podcast host, and therefore I said, why not inviting my friend Dennis Wakabayashi, and we do it like a podcast. I have the podcast Business Transformation Pitch, is followed by thousands of people. Last year I reached 400,000 downloads from the podcast, and now I said, let's go big and ask Dennis to join. And I know if I would ask him directly, he would say, no, let's do something different and so on. And now, as we are here and live, I'm quite sure we will have a great discussion together. But before I start, Dennis, where are you today? Because I know that you are traveling around the world, you are doing a lot. And what are your plans? I see a lot of nice countries flag behind you.
Today I am in California in the United States on the West Coast. I'm joining you from there, but after this, I will head to the East Coast of the United States to New York before heading in a few days over to Ho Chi Minh City for the Lunar New Year. So it's quite an adventure, but it's always nice to be speaking with my friends in Africa and of course, you, Greg. It's never anything but amazing to talk to you.
Thank you very much. And to the others, if you don't know, it's 2 a.m. for Dennis, but is with us drinking coffee. And therefore, thank you very much also for this opportunity. But I want to make it simple. For me, if we speak about CX, if we speak about what experience management, it's all about collaboration. It's all about learning from each other's, and learning from the mistakes that I did, that other companies are doing, so that we can progress together, that we can grow together, one customer after the other. And this discussion will really be a dialogue, perspective exchange. And I'm super happy if also the audience add and ask questions. It's a bridge between operational model and the global experience management reality. I would like to start with a simple observation. The global customer satisfaction is decreasing. Customers are always unhappy, complaining. Why? Because they are comparing us with the best in class. It's always about Disney, about Amazon, about I was in this hotel, or this is the best experience that I had. I worked for several years in a hospital, and some patients were complaining that our rooms were not so good as in the hotels. And I said, but you are in an hospital, you are not in a hotel. And therefore, I think that it's extremely important. And most organizations, from my point of view, don't lack on customer data. They don't lack on dashboard. They don't even lack on CX initiative. What they lack is an operating model. The operating model is missing how to structure, how to set up these experiences that we want to offer to our customer, to make them returning, acquiring new customer, keeping the existing customer, improving the wallet, what they are buying from us. And I think there it's extremely important to focus on real change and leadership. Therefore, we built a framework that I'm going to share with you. It's free, you can have it. There are a lot of information. I share it. Don't worry. If you like it, you can use it. And I don't want to discuss it only in theory, and therefore I have Dennis together with me. I'm going to quickly share the framework, and don't be afraid. It's a bigger one. We will walk you through this framework step by step. You see, we have a lot of pillars, a lot of information in there. Take the time to read it after this discussion. What I really would like to do now is, together with Dennis, walk through from our point of view the most important topics where we can really act as CX expert, as people working in sales, as people working in operations. Perhaps let's discuss later, or not at all, about experience, vision, mission, and values and strategy, because it's something that often happens at other levels in the company, but really focus on leadership, on technology, on continuous improvement, on innovation, on measurement, and on the culture. I think these are the most important pillars from this framework that we created in the last years, discussing and having a lot of discussion with different companies. I take it out again because I want that you can see Dennis discussing with us, and then I will share this slide, this one pager together with you. You can use it whatever, in which form you want. Dennis, before we go into this itself, from your global work, why are organizations struggling so much nowadays?
What a broad topic. First of all, I want to say thank you, Greg, for having me. Thank you, ICX, for inviting me as well. And I will say that there is a difference between CX theory, CX practice, and CX management, or the effort the knowledge that it takes to deliver it. And so, Greg, I just want to acknowledge that you are a podcaster and you are a consultant. But for the audience, in many places in the world, I go to Greg to help do exactly what he said, which is simplify the delivery or the execution of CX. So it's an honor, Greg, to speak to you about this topic. When you ask me about where businesses struggle with CX, I think it is a lot around the trust building of CX, and so much of that is about culture. So what works in Africa or works in Brazil or works in the Middle East is different than what works in Asia. And so thinking about how customers' lives are impacted by brands and that is contextual to culture is very important. And I'll give you an example of that. In the Middle East, there's multiple languages. Some languages they amplify trust by 5x. So English in the Middle East gets a 5x multiplier of trust or exposure. But there's different Arabic languages that transfer 60x times faster. So connecting with the culture in each region, connecting with the idea of micropayments, as an example, in Brazil is hugely important. Brazil uses WhatsApp extensively. In Zurich, I'll tell you there, Greg, Zurich's customers give a brand about 3 times to get it right. And after that, the Swiss will stop using that brand entirely. In the US, you can get it wrong with a customer 50% of the time. And even then, they'll stay with you 50% of the time. So what I would say is where a lot of great brands begin is understanding the culture of their customers and the culture of their organization. And those who begin there often see faster results than others.
I see exactly like you are saying that culture is the most important topic. And also in this conversation, we are going to touch it as the last one, because that's the thing that people remember. And when we are when we are designing experiences, we always remember this, the peak end rule. And it means in the middle, we will one important topic. And then at the end, the most important for the end of this discussion. You mentioned different topics around cultural differences, but in a company, I think extremely important is what the leadership is doing. And I'm not speaking only about the leadership, the leader who's taking the decision, but I'm also speaking of people acting like leaders and bringing topics forwards. I see, or what we see mostly in leadership, are 3 main topics. First of all, experience fails often because ownership is unclear. There is no clarity around end-to-end ownership. I am convinced with all these surveys that are out there, we have enough signals from the voice of the customer. It means the surveys, the questions that the customer are answering, from our system, from the processes that we have, how often we run these processes, and so on. We have a lot of operational KPIs, but there is no action on that. And the last one is, I think leadership is really shown in when bad news arise. And we have now a situation, a global situation, where there are a lot of bad news. The stock market is continually changing up and down. We see what is happening with cryptocurrency that fell roughly 40% over the last few months. And now speaking about leadership, one big topic for me is accountability. And then is, where does accountability in companies usually break?
Accountability is really a shared responsibility, and that has a lot to do with having a consistent communication of the mission or the vision. I think that every person in an organization and every customer shares some core beliefs. And one of those is every person wants to leave an engagement with an improved feeling of self-worth. So inside an organization, leaders or players who do not feel safe, they tend not to innovate. And I think what breaks down is the creation of safety within an organization so that a person can voice the truth, can, for example, say, this metric is not right. Or here's another bold statement. How about don't try to make these customers happy? They hate us anyway. Let's focus on the relationships that matter most to us. They might say, they might do things to save face or to of their leadership or themselves. So where I think we all need to learn and grow is in creating safety. And I think that in Africa in particular, this Ubuntu idea of seeing each other is one of the places in the world where the culture has an advantage over, let's say, places in the US where it's more combative. So that's my long way of saying that is um, value for the experiences that we create for ourselves and amongst ourselves and for others is really where the success or failure for management leadership starts.
Uh, Sorry, I need to say that I love the way that you are answering these questions because these are not, first of all, they are not scripted for the audience. And second, it's really based on the experience that you are having on one side, traveling around the world, speaking with the people at different levels. It's about speaking with the guys taking the phone and answering to the phone, but speaking also to the top management. And these are not the very simplified theoretical answer, but it's the reality, what you are seeing in what you are doing. And you are also a leader. You have a lot of employees. You are supporting your people and so on. And you were also in different regions, and you had a lot of discussion also with really top leaders, not only from a company point of view, but also on a political side and global sides. We saw also from your LinkedIn. What are, from your point of view, the skills that makes leaders really successful?
Thank you for saying that and for contextualizing it, because that's right. I spent the last 2 days at the senior leadership strategizing for one of the larger brands in the world with a number of executives. And likewise, one of the things that I tend to say is in certain businesses is if these executives do not go and sit in the call center and take some calls and listen to the calls on the front line, we have very little to work with here because we often need to remind or share with executives what it's like to be an agent, as an example. And I guarantee you, there is not very many agents, not very many executives in the world who could sit on the front lines and take any phone calls. But conversely, I'm pretty sure there are some agents on the front line who could do a stellar job at running a company. So to your point, I see every person in the organization by their intent, their trustability, their contribution to the greater good of their corporation or their culture or their communities. And in that way, everyone in the organization is equal. Each part title has a different role to play. But whether it's when I work with governments around the world uh, who are improving their relationships with citizens or companies, it's important to understand that everyone can make an equal impact. And so I think it's that perspective that starts to drive success in an organization.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I think we discussed now a bit about leadership. We could have all 40 minutes on this topic, but I would like to touch other ones. And I know that you are also quite involved in working with data, transforming the data and transforming signals into insights and then into different actions. And in our experience management house, now we move from the leadership that it's in the middle to the side where we have the measurement. We know usually companies measure satisfactions. They have the C satisfaction score, net promoter score, customer effort score, and so on. But what I never see or not so often see is measuring the decisions. Leadership take decisions and then they need to measure about that. And we know that we have these dashboards that are full of KPIs, different information, this increased, that decreased, and so on. No connection between this one, but only it's a view. Now this is looking like that. It's like a Boeing 747, the cockpit with all this information. Nobody understands what's in there, but it's important to have all of them. Could you please, Dennis, elaborate a bit on your work related to Atlas and what's the rationale behind that?
Well, you're right. Super advanced, and I'll just touch on it briefly. Over the last year, I personally, because I have a background in coding, have vibe coded or written more than 1 million lines of code to use AI to look at data. And all I would say about that end of the spectrum of data is AI can help you look at data. So there's that. Anyone can do it. Looking at data in a small window of time, a month, 2 months, a day, a call, is probably the most incorrect way you could possibly look at data. Data that doesn't have a year to see a trend and 2 years to see a comparable is not as accurate as having 2 years of data to look at. Doesn't matter what metric it is. If you can see the trend and you can see its seasonal anchor, you'll be smarter. But you touched on something else, Greg, and I'll give you an example from Africa of what people should look at and what they shouldn't look at. In Africa, Greg, one of the leading chocolate providers provided their core product was a bulk container of cocoa powder, and they were very successful in the African market at selling these bulk cocoa powder products. Extremely successful. And what the behavior was is in Africa, they would take these bulk containers and then take them back and then scoop them out and put them into plastic bags for individual servings. And that was the behavior. They were very successful. They were entirely displaced almost overnight by a competitor who took that powder and put it into individual packages, so that essentially breaking up and creating small, essentially doing the work of repackaging the cocoa powder. And this simple understanding of the customer behavior and how the product actually delivered value to the market made the difference between owning the market and losing the market almost overnight. So what do you measure there? What you have to do is you have to get back into the realities of the value that you bring to the market And you got to stop measuring how many ounces of cocoa powder you serve, and stop measuring how many sales you make, and start measuring how much value the audiences that you serve get. And that's it's theoretical, but I share with you that because I think everyone on this call either has a responsibility to measure the relationships between the business and the community, and the community has a requirement to raise their hand to tell companies what's important to them more than what they're upset about.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I was hoping that you would bring this example because it's really relatable and understandable, and this also explains that we should never stop to improving. We should never stop to change. We should always work and find insights that drive us to better decisions and then to action. Now I move from this house, from measurement to continuous improvement. Now, I'm not speaking about the big technological transformation, the big project, the big transformation. I am speaking about one clear rule. It's if we every day get 1% better, at the end of the year, we will be 37 times better than we were at the beginning of the year. And these are the small changes that a company is doing on a daily basis. What I see with my customer and discussing on the podcast, it's prioritization is always a big bottleneck. There are a lot of ideas, a lot of discussion, sending back people, analyze this, analyze that, check this and check that. And this change is not really happening. And exactly the same is we set up, and I think Dennis has extensive experience, a lot of voice of the customer programs. It means the client calls in, something happens, and then the company asks back to the client, did we solve your problem? How satisfied were you? And so on. And then best practices says you should, if it was a bad experience, you should go back to the client and try to fix that. That's the close the loop. And I see companies reporting hundreds and thousands of call back to excuse, to apologize and so on, but then it stops. No change happen in the company. And perhaps Dennis, what's your experience working with all these global companies? What differentiate leading companies from the rest?
When you talk about continuous improvement, here's what I think, and this is my own personal opinion. I will say that there are some core factors that create success. And I'll point to you, Greg, because I've watched your career expand in your audience. Your podcast, it ranks in the top percentage of CX podcasts in the world. And you beat out almost all the US podcasters, by the way, if you didn't know that, because I did the research. And I will say for myself, I'll reach over 1 million subscribers this year. And so the metric of like, you're an awesome podcaster, or I have more subscribers, who cares? Doesn't matter. What matters is how do you get there? And not how did we get there, but how does everybody in this audience get there? That's what's missing. It's not about the metric. Continuous improvement is about every single person making a small change to be better. And I'll give you an example. For those of you who are not familiar, there's a guy named Mr. Beast on YouTube. And somebody asked him, how did you do it? And he said, everybody wants to be YouTube famous, but no one wants to do 100 videos that are terrible. And he said, my advice to you is each time you post a video, just try to do something better. It doesn't matter what it is. Fix the sound, fix the light, change the angle. There are any number of things you can do that are small, to your point, Greg, at each step that can be improved. He said, try to make a small improvement each time, each video, And then he said, and then get back to me after you post your 100th video. And that lesson, that was also true for me. I worked on my YouTube channel for 11 years consistently. And it wasn't until I hit enough consistent improvements that quote unquote success started to happen. Why that's important is it's been my experience. Let's start with call center agents. Call center agents, from the minute they sit down the first day, are making continuous improvements, and they're doing it at record speed, learning to juggle multiple screens. They have more visibility into where the friction or breakdown in customer relationships exist. But if you look at most people in an organization, all of them are trying to better themselves. And I will say, whether you look in Africa or the Middle East, Japan, um, most people within an organization each day wake up and they try to do something better for themselves, their families, their businesses. And so the secret to continuous improvement is not trying to make everyone improve the same thing at the same time. It's creating a safe environment where the effort of team play or getting better becomes rewarded just by recognition. And so many businesses make the mistake of trying to correct behavior or punish behavior or change incentives for their own good. And the reality is that very act is what creates the most negative impact to continuous improvement.
And to add on that, you mentioned Mr. Beast is also now owning Feastable, is creating this chocolate and is ensuring end-to-end to create chocolate in a sustainable way, avoiding childhood labor and all these bad things that we know that are happening. And you really focus from the beginning, from the starting point to the last point, having the chocolate at Walmart or in the shop selling them. And it was incredible listening to what he shared. He worked days and nights, several days and nights, only to optimize the box, the packages, that the chocolate is not falling out from the boxes and that they look pretty and that people then really buy them. And that's really getting better and better every day. I think in every discussion we need to touch the topic technology, and we know that a lot of companies are lacking tech architecture. It means they are using bad data, trying to leverage AI, but using bad data and AI. You know that you already know the results. And as Dennis mentioned, contact center agents are using 5-7 screens different to get all the relevant information, because information is fragmented in different system, legacy system, and so on. And we know that a lot of companies try to automate as quick as possible instead of redesigning and reducing frictions. What I see, and this is the what I would like to understand from you, Dennis, from your view, is the gap between best in class and others is now getting bigger and bigger and faster. It's happening extremely fast. What's your view? What's your take on implementing and leveraging AI?
So that's a big implementing AI is number one, it's fundamental because AI does things that no one else can do. And I give you an example of that. I was thinking the other day about AI and marketing, or AI, I mean, specifically, probably predominantly in marketing. I wouldn't trust a single person I know to be a good marketer anymore. Um, it's just not plausible in the world that we live in. And I'll give you an example. One person in marketing is like, let's say, a dentist, best dentist ever, right? But the next person in the marketing team might be a great heart surgeon. And each of them will be great at what they do, but their own experiences and their own expertise will lead them to give you the best solutions or ideas or go-to-market approaches or measurement techniques that is born from their expertise. And what AI does is allow you to essentially harmonize the expertise within a team. And it's that harmony of the expertise and the harmony of your best customers where the best resonance happens. And that is where financial transactions become more vibrant. Now, that was very conceptual, but AI itself is conceptual. But what I would say as a tactical learning there, which is if you're in a business and you have a private instance of AI, and I would not trust AI's answers any more than I would trust the next person's guess. I mean, AI is guessing. But what I will tell you is AI is strong enough now that you could, as a small to medium-sized business owner, even large business owner, you could literally ask AI, what does the market think about my category or industry? What is important in this country that's not important to that country? And you could just throw in a bunch of spreadsheets, Excel documents, old ads, our website copy, and you could just say, AI, is this all like consistent or inconsistent? And it'll do pattern recognition and say, these things, you might want to think about them. So at any level, AI will begin to give you the generalized intelligence that perhaps the expertise that you possess has actually set you behind where having a wider view of knowledge could serve you.
Really, really interesting. I would have some follow-up question, but taking care of the audience time and where we are, I would like to touch with you the last topic, and it's culture. It's the most important one. You mentioned that at the beginning, and throughout also our discussion, I think we came always back to this topic. And for me, or the definition is clear. It's how people are acting or employees are acting when the boss is not looking at or is not there. I saw this extremely interesting example that culture is like water for fishes, because a fish doesn't know that there is water, but without water it would die quite quickly. And it's important, it's in good times, good weather condition, as you started at the beginning, Angela, but also when it's bad weather condition. And there are a lot of different topics around how to incentivize the management, the business, the leaders, how do you incentivize people. And at the end, it's also about, please let me say that, even if it's not often a good discussion, it's about internal politics, internal conflicts. I want to be better than you, and therefore in such a culture, a company is not progressing. As we are coming to an end of this discussion, and perhaps the audience know that I'm always asking about the golden nugget. It's something that the people can take with them, use, leverage then in their daily works, in their daily business. What's your final advice, Dennis, to the audience, to the people listening to this discussion in relation to company culture?
Well, first of all, Greg, this is my own hot take, but I'll tell you what culture really is. In my best guess and opinion, having been working on multiple continents for multiple years and seeing the effects of culture. Hear me out. The internet connects electricity to other systems. It creates information, it creates logic, it creates patterns and systems. business systems, government systems, financial transactions. All of that is part of the execution of business or customer experience. But culture is a network outside of the internet. It's a network outside of control. It is when humans use their eyes, their ears, their mouth, their sense of taste, touch, when the five senses of humans interact with each other, that's what culture is. And it's completely separate from all of this stuff you read on a video screen, phone somewhere. And I'll give you a tangible example of that. Culture, one example where it's hugely influential is there are countries in Asia where fashion in one country becomes popular and the middle class in the country adjacent picks up on that fashion and the middle class sets that as a standard, right? And that idea of what's fashionable to wear, it moves faster than supply chain. It moves faster than any system devised on earth to capture the transactions. So it's very hard for companies to catch up to the money that's available to cultural changes. And so culture really is about the way you speak to people inside your organization. It's what you hear from them. And a strong culture is one where people begin to have a common understanding and a common way of sharing with each other ideas. Because ideas that are strong within organizations will jump across to new customer segments, jump across over to new countries, open up business relationships in banking or in supply chain that didn't exist before. So having a harmony among 2, 5, 10, 50, 1,000 people in an organization literally changes the economic environment that they are planted in.
The only thing that I can say is it's always a pleasure to chat with you, to discuss with you. I really appreciate all these insights and coming to a summary, if it's possible to summarize everything what we discussed today. If we step back and look at this full house, what becomes clear is that experience management is not a program. It's a management system. It sits in leadership decisions that we discussed. It sits in funding logic. It sits in prioritization that was discussed also today. It sits in how companies are transforming signals into action, or if they ignore them, we know what happened. And what we see across industry is simple. Company don't fail because they are not listening to customer. They fail because they don't decide. There is this analysis paralysis, everything get analyzed, but companies are not progressing. And they don't decide because experience is still treated as an insight and not a governance, a cultural setup. The organization that wins built the full house, from data to decisions to execution to culture to grow. Experience management is not a measurement discipline. It's a leadership discipline. And I think if we follow such advices from Dennis, from his experience, and we use this house, we can really change the world for the better. Back to you, Angela.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those powerful insights that you have shared with us. Members will now have the floor open for any questions that you might have for either Greg or Dennis. They are still here with us. If you wish to raise up, speak, please raise up your hand and we will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Or if you have any comments for our speakers, please put them on chat as well. But to
And
Greg,
can I say one thing? Thank you for Greg and Angela for having me. I want to clarify something for your audience and for those you may share this with. What I've tried to do is share how to think about these concepts. But what I think Greg has done in creating this model is take anyone who wants to the do or how of CX, because in this framework, every one of us has this. And if you can describe each of those, then what you act upon is unique to your business. And folks like Greg have spent so much time in understanding how to take these ideas that I have and make them real for each customer and each organization. And I wanted to mention that because Greg, I just fly around the world talking to people and I say crazy stuff. But when you actually have to make it happen, Greg, you actually deliver. So I just wanted to mention that this was a great conversation, but Greg, I'm just talking philosophically, and I hope it doesn't distract everyone.
No, it has landed. It has landed well, Dennis, and thank you so much for that. Maybe Greg, you could also send us that vision model.
Sure.
That way we can also just pass it down to our members as well to just help this conversation even land better. Members, any of us who has any comments or questions?
Angela, I know it's always very difficult to ask questions, and we have only 5 minutes, and I think people need to leave to go to the next meeting and so on. They are perhaps a bit scared about asking the first question. What I offer, and I'm quite sure that Dennis is also offering, please look at our LinkedIn profiles. We are very active there, and drop all the questions that you have. We are really here to help, and in this case, it's really for us important to share our view, our different feelings related to customer experience. What for us it's important is that you take it with you, and we hope it's what Dennis said. And in addition, we are very passionate about what we are doing, and therefore now or in future, connect with us on LinkedIn, ask all the questions, and if we are speaking about culture, we can also give back to this amazing audience the 5 minutes and have a coffee or a water, and then ask us the questions when they perhaps also saw the framework, and then perhaps they listen again to this discussion on my podcast or somewhere else.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's from the CX goalkeeper himself, Mr. Greg Uglioni, and we truly appreciate you. Of course, we have some comments coming in on chat. Carol says, thank you for the good session, very educative. We appreciate you, our members, and if you allow me, we have some announcement as ICX to also just share with you. But then, Greg, the comments will keep coming. Dennis as well will keep coming on chat. Please interact with them. Those are our members being super appreciative, and we truly, truly appreciate you for your time. Yeah. So I'd like to share that we will be having a 5-day training on strategic development, measurement, and monitoring of CX metrics and KPIs training on the 23rd of this month all the way to 27th. This training will be in Naivasha, and it is ideal for mid to advanced CX professionals who want to confidently link CX metrics to business outcomes. So if this is something that you are interested in, please reach out to us, the ICX Secretariat, happening in Naivasha towards end of this month. We are happy to support you with the relevant documents for you to be able to attend this training. We also have the Customer Experience Masterclass that will be happening in Diani. We are doing this in partnership with Customer Institute. Stefan is the one who will be the lead trainer for this particular training. And this is a hands-on program designed for practitioners who want depth, clarity and practical application of CX. And so if this is your cup of tea as well, please reach out. It includes the CCCX certification, that is Certified Customer Centricity Expert. So if you want to be certified with that particular program, please reach out to us. It's happening on the 13th and 14th of April in Diani. Then lastly, we have our annual Customer Experience Conference. And this is usually a flagship gathering of CX leaders and practitioners and partners across Africa and beyond. And so this is an event that you should not miss. It's usually a big event, and this is our 7th edition this year. And we are happy to have all of you participate. Yeah, so please register with us and be a part of that as well. And to you, our speakers, thank you once again. To our audience, our members, of course, we cannot function without you, and we truly appreciate you for being a part of this discussion and for joining us and making time. We wish you all a wonderful afternoon. I can see Dennis has shared some information on chat. Please, members, before you leave, interact with it as well. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Greg
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Right,
Thank you
very
so
much.
Greg. Thanks, Dennis. Thank you, members, and bye. Good afternoon.
Thank you too. Bye.